Okay, welcome everybody. So Wolf Summit happens to be physically in a city called Wrocław. And Wrocław is very well known for its beauty. And sometimes people call it Polish Venice. So the first question would be from my side, do you maybe know how many bridges there are in and how many islands there are in Wrocław? So Wrocław has approximately 12 islands, and maybe somebody knows how many islands there are in the country of Estonia. So in Estonia there is 2,355 islands. And as at the start of the introduction was said, the population in Estonia is 1.3 million people. And area is quite wide. It's similar to Switzerland, and Estonia has the biggest size in terms of the land per person. Also, it has the cleanest air in Europe. Approximately 55% of the country is covered with forests. So the question is why Estonia is such a successful, innovative country, and why it's such an exceptional country. I think it all started historically. Estonia was before the 90s, was the part of the Soviet Union. And after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Estonia gained independence non-violently. And the new government had a lot to deal with. One of the issues was that Estonians didn't have any money, like most of the post-Soviet Union countries. So they had to figure out the budget for the country, and they have to figure out something else, which is the new identity, which is how this little country with such a population is happened to be successful in the future. And we need to remember that it was in the 90s. The internet wasn't such a popular thing. All the digital tools were just starting. And they figured out, and they thought that they will be, put all their cards on innovation, and they will bet on innovation and on digital solutions. And it worked for them extremely well. They are called the most innovative country in the world. But what does it mean to be the most innovative country in the world? First of all, access to the internet is written into the constitution. Secondly, all of the services that are provided by the state are, you can do it by the internet, it's digital. You cannot do two things actually on the internet. It's getting married and getting divorced. That's the things that actually need presence, physical presence. Second thing is voting rights and how you vote. You can vote online. You can do it in some countries in the world already, but in Estonia, everybody could vote online since 2001. Second big thing that everybody is talking about is blockchain, especially since a few years. Estonia introduced blockchain into the public sphere, the administration, as an administration tool in 2004. This is the former president of Estonia. She said also the other thing, which is the biggest asset of Estonia is what you have between your ears, meaning the brain. You need to be very smart and innovative, basically, if you are the country like that and you want it to be extremely successful. Second thing, which is very important, is creating the right business environment, where creating an ecosystem when the innovation can thrive and develop. These are the tools. 98 of the companies are established online. Online banking and banking tax. The tax system also is managed by the sometimes AI and sometimes through the internet. So it's quite easy to run the company in Estonia. Here are some of the international ranks. Number 1 in terms of International Tax Competitive Index. Number 1 in terms of Digital Economy and Society Index. Number 1 in terms of the Digital Health Index. What's very interesting in terms of the digital health is that Estonia is the first country in the world that introduced AI-based chatbot consultant called SUVE. So when the COVID pandemic started, because everybody was lacking of the nurses and physicians and getting the doctor appointment, physical doctor appointment, what Estonia did is they introduced the SUVE, which is the system of, you can ask any questions regarding COVID, and you can call and or describe online your the way you feel, and SUVE will guide you through the system and answer some of the questions. So you don't have the human being answering the first call. You have artificial intelligence, and that helps a lot in terms of work of physicians and doctors and doing the first interview with the patients. So basically, what happens and what's to the benefit of the entrepreneurs, startups and entrepreneurs, is that Estonia introduced a system which enables you to register as an e-resident. So everybody who is an entrepreneur can, or everybody who would like to benefit from the Estonian administration system online or digital system online, can do it through the internet and can do it through the e-residence system, which is you can register it as a resident and then getting the benefit of using the system, and then you can start or register the company. You can do and run a company from anywhere in the world if you have the internet access. So it's pretty easy. This is the ranks of Estonia doing ease of doing business according to the World Bank. That's credit rating. What's worth mentioning is that Estonia is having at the moment the lowest government debt in Europe. So because of using the digital tools and digital administration, it's quite also effective. Risk of political instability, and some information regarding the tax system. What's very interesting from the tax perspective is that corporate income tax and retained and reinvested profits are 0. So, and VAT is 20%. So it's quite competitive in terms of the tax system in comparison with the other countries. So not only you can run the business online, but also you can do it quite efficiently from the tax perspective. Estonia is the country that favors innovation and like to experiment with innovation. And one of the examples is AUVTech, the company that introduced the first autonomous vehicle. This is the bus. The whole concept is that with such a number of people and such a territory, sometimes you get this last mile problem, the issue that, you're going somewhere by the train, and then, like you need to take the bus to get to your village or to get to your home, etc. And sometimes there's not enough people just to sustain the service of the bus. So what you do, you can get on the train, get to the town, and then from the town, get on the autonomous vehicle doesn't need to have a driver, and it gets you to your village or it gets you to your house and goes back to this train station, which solves the last mile problem and issue, and it's fully autonomous. If you'd like to test the autonomous vehicle from Estonia, there is, I think in a few weeks, the first one in Poland will be tested in Wrocław. So you can jump on board and just test it for a few minutes. It's fully autonomous. What is important also to mention that these autonomous vehicles are completely legal in Estonia. This is the first country that introduced the autonomous vehicles legally. And more to that, a few months ago, they developed and tested the first one, which is run on hydrogen. So Estonia doesn't have the first autonomous vehicle. Not only has the first autonomous vehicle, but also has the first autonomous vehicle which is run on hydrogen. How cool is that? In terms of startup, at the moment there's approximately 1,100 plus startups in Estonia. But what's extremely interesting for the startups is that Estonia at the moment has 7 unicorns, which is the companies that are, the value is estimated at more than $1 billion. Working with Estonia for a year now, I can, knowing the clients and the companies and types of startups are there, I think there's at least 2 or 3 that are going to be or become unicorns next year. So it's not that, they were lucky before. It's something which is done right by the ecosystem, and also it's like a snowball effect, which is when you have a 1, 2, 3 unicorns, then it happens to be that the people that started the unicorns, that they are reinvesting their money or co-investing their money with the investors into the Estonian startups. And secondly, which is also quite important, that the people that are from such a country which has 1.3 million people, they believe in a success, because in Estonia, as I understand, everybody know each other or somehow related. So it happens to be that these founders, they heard, they've seen, or they know somebody who knows or know directly the founders. So I think it boosts a lot of creativity, and people are very keen and have this entrepreneurial spirit. That's number one. But also what is extremely important is that Estonia has this startup ecosystem. Ecosystem that I've mentioned, you can start the company online, you can do the public sphere online, you have tax benefits, etc. But what's extremely important is that they have a very good education system as well. Here's the slide regarding e-residency. As I told you, first in the world, you can become e-resident, enter the website, play with the system, you can become a resident and then start a company in Estonia. As I said, human capital, some data, and education system, which is very, very important. The thing is that, as I said, in the 90s, when Estonia was thinking about their identity and they put all the cards on innovation, they also thought that we cannot only think and develop the tools for the citizens, we also need to educate them how to use these tools. So the example is this. First is that Estonian teachers don't have an official program. So you don't have like a program that teacher is running. There is some assumptions and some bullet points that the teacher need to fulfill. But basically, teachers have a free hand, so they have trust. And secondly, they have the freedom to, I would say, assess or be flexible on the program. Secondly, they use very modern tools, and they teach coding, and they teach the skills that will be needed not now, because I think like at the moment in the world, especially in the area of education, what we do, we teach what is needed now. So if something is needed now or some know-how is needed now, then we teach the kids this know-how, yeah? So if, in my generation, when people were thinking that, you know, in the country like Poland, the borders were open, you could travel, so parents were thinking that the languages were extremely important, yeah? So they were pushing towards learning languages, which was important at those particular moment in time, yeah? What people are thinking and pushing at the moment is this coding skills, because there's a lot of need for software developers at the moment on the market, and so then therefore we are preparing the kids for the times what happens now. What the Estonians are thinking and how the way they behave, they are focusing at the moment on creativity and innovation, also in the sphere of education. So they are trying to introduce a lot of creative skills by assumption that the internet tools and digital tools will be there for them. So I think it's extremely important especially in the education, to be focused on the future, not at the present moment. Here's some data regarding the institutions. Estonia is, by the international rankings, recognized for number one in terms of the education. 86% adults speaks at least one foreign language. It happens to be usually English. And here are some points regarding the main economic activities besides tech and innovation. Here's the GDP. And some foreign direct investment. What in terms of foreign direct investment, what is interesting from the time of 2020 is that because of innovative ecosystem, one of the German main automotive companies, Volkswagen, they made the decision to build R&D center in Estonia. Main investors, main fields of activities in terms of FDI, and some trade data. Trade is quite important to me because I do represent Estonian agency EAS Enterprise Estonia in Poland, and my task in here is to connect and bridge Estonian entrepreneurs and companies with the Polish partners, and one of my tasks is to boost Estonian export to Poland by product and services. Here are the main international partners. Estonia is quite close with Finland and with Scandinavia by the culture. What is really important in terms of the export and export activities is that Estonians are not focused nearly at all at the domestic market. They are focused on export from the day one, so they want to be internationally present. And so as you can see, 8% is USA, for example, and 6% is Germany. So not only the countries which are the closest, but also the countries that show the most opportunities. That's the area of the focus. Estonia also has got a quite strong heavy industry, marine industry, machine industry, etc. What is also quite interesting is wood and prefabricated houses, which are also very, very innovative. I have a slide regarding that in a moment. Does the import? Commodities import by the commodity. and main export and import partners. As I said, like Finland is #1 on the list. Type of services and key sectors. Fintech is quite strong, ICT, business services, timber, bioeconomy, electronics and food industry, as well as transport logistics. This is some slides regarding the internet communications technologies, ultra-modern ICT infrastructure and 5G test network. Basically, I think from the perspective of the people that would like to do business in Estonia, apart from ecosystem, just like physically do some things in Estonia, what's worth to remember and what shows the most of opportunities, I think it's a great test ground. Because you have access to the data. For example, in terms of the smart grid connections in energy infrastructure, 95 or 96% of the infrastructure is covered by the smart grids. So you have a data that's actually coming from the grid networks, and you have virtual data coming from the energy sector. But what's in a favor in this instance is that you can access this data free of charge. So you can take the data and place your startup or your model in an energy sector and play with the data. Similar thing what's announced at the Digital Summit in September, which is, as I mentioned, we have this extremely cutting-edge, innovative public administration systems called X-Road. And at the moment, like what's announced, that Estonian government gives access free of charge through the government-based program also to this environment in order to test your startup ideas. So you have the access to the data, you have access to the system, and you can work on your ideas and test your ideas, and then go back to the Estonian government and propose them as a client, or propose them as a partner or prospect partner in a PPP, public-private partnership scheme, that they are going to implement your system or your idea into the current network. So they don't not only focus on maintaining and running their infrastructure, they also focus on the future of the infrastructure. But what's the point here? The point that I'm making here is that you can start your company in Estonia and run your idea as a testing ground, because it's a great environment for the testing ground. This is the business services. In terms of the cybersecurity, there's a cybersecurity NATO headquarter, global headquarter based in Estonia. Also, Estonia is the first country in the world that introduced the concept of digital embassies. The first digital embassy is in Luxembourg. What happens is you have server rooms and you have a backup system for all of the government infrastructure and data. So if anything happens with the data inside the country, in Estonia, Estonia has a backup. And there's going to be more of this digital embassies concept developed in the future. I think it's quite interesting and nice. When you have a software, you also have a hardware. These are some information regarding the electronic systems and manufacturing, machinery and metalworking. Previous times, even when there was Tsar's Russia very much present in Estonia, they were very well known for marine industry, especially the submarine. I think the first Russian Tsar's submarine was designed, developed in Tallinn, in Estonia. So there is a lot of quite skilled workforce, and Estonian Metal Industry and Heavy Manufacturing Association is the biggest association and chamber of commerce in Estonia still, which gives the opportunity for the Industry 4.0 With my clients, I've seen a lot of innovation in terms of the IoT, especially in the manufacturing industry that were tested, developed in Estonia. One of my favorites, which is the wood sector and wood industry. Estonia is the biggest wooden houses exporter in Europe, and it is not only eco-friendly material, but also by the design and by the solutions that it offers. It also, I think, one of the most innovative in the world. So Estonians, by covered with the forest, they can make use of the wood assets, but also they are designing and building prefabricated houses, which are eco-friendly. Everybody is talking now about reducing CO2, and I think it's quite important. And one of the, I think, world's biggest consumer of CO2 is real estate. So I think some of the solutions can be very friendly, eco-friendly. Some food industry, especially Estonian chocolate, is quite good. Transport and logistics. What's important is to remember there's also in the Baltics these ice-free ports that can work all year round. I've seen a lot of innovative, quite interesting logistics solutions in Estonia, especially in terms of the managing of the data. Future. What's the future for Estonia? As I said, Estonia is the testing ground, but also the testing ground for innovation, and it's very welcoming through e-residency programs. One of the projects in terms of infrastructure is Rail Baltica. Here's how it's going to look like. There's going to be connection from Berlin to Tallinn, and I think it will help a lot in terms of the future development of the country and the trade. And another project which is quite controversial but very, very interesting is the Helsinki-Tallinn connection. At the moment you can take a ferry, it takes you 2 hours, depends on the weather condition. And it's planned to have an undersea tunnel which will get you in 30 minutes in between Helsinki and Tallinn, which will furtherly develop the infrastructure. That would be it for me. We are going to have a few very interesting panelists also from Estonia in the near future. I'm here physically and I'm here online. So if anybody has any additional questions or any ideas or any need to connect with some of the Estonian startups or entrepreneurs, then I'm here for you. Thank you.
Daniel Bajer, ladies and gentlemen, give him a hand.